Well, hello. Welcome to Scented Pages. Welcome and welcome back to my channel, baby. Honey, life has been life, and I'm coming to you in my moo today. This is all you need is this great big material. But yeah, so life has been life in a different little way for me lately, and let me tell you, I needed a break. So that's what I did at the end of the year. I just took a break, took some time to kind of, whoo, is it regroup? No, it's not regrouping. It's just been a whole lot. But I'm back, I'm here. I hope everyone had a great end of the year, a great beginning of the year. But I'm ready to talk about some perfume and some books and a little bit of reading goals for this year. Just want to catch up with my subscribers and see how you all are doing and see what you are reading and what are your reading goals for this year. Did you meet your ones for last year and all that? Put them in the comments below. I sound like a legit YouTuber. But no, honestly, no, for real. Because I really would like some more engagement from my subscribers. Put it in the description what you're reading this year, what you want to read, blase, all those goodies. I got some coffee, of course. And Cheeto never wants to leave me alone. Cheeto B! Cheeto! So the perfume that I have, oh my goodness. I just found this, and you know I love me a good thrift store find. And I got this one. It sprays out from the thrift store not too long ago. It's also available on Amazon. It's called Nexa. But I'm showing you the bottle because the bottle is absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah, so it's called Nexa by Muse. Let me see. I absolutely love it. I guess he's not coming in. I forgot to already have up the notes. As usual. That's my shtick now, I believe. Is to have y'all waiting. It's like, no. But I really wanted to make sure that I did not forget this perfume this time because it smells amazing. So I guess how you pronounce it is Nexa Muse. And it has main accords of white floral, citrus, sweet, tuberose, fruity, earthy, vanilla, and animalic. And when I tell you, this scent is amazing. It is so, it's very light and floral to me. But just the dreamiest. That's the best way that I can really describe it. It's giving light, floral, dreamy dreams. Like, if that makes sense. I can't even. It does. It smells like if you could smell the best of dreams. That's what it smells like. Nexa Muse by Rue Broca is a floral fragrance. I didn't even know that. For women, this is a new fragrance. It was launched in 2024, and its top notes are tangerine, pear, and bergamot. Beautiful. Middle notes are orange blossom, tuberose, and jasmine sambac. It has base notes of vanilla, oak moss, musk, and vetiver. Absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. So That's the scent for this video. Next to Muse. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Honey, I could be saying it all the way wrong, but it's going to be Muse today. So now let's get into these books because I have been having a ball with the reading that I've been doing. So, okay, let's catch up a little bit. The books that I'm going to be talking about today are pretty old. I have had them ready to go to talk about for weeks now, but like I said, I kind of got a little turned around with some things and I just needed a break. So I'm going to talk about those old books. But I also finished I Invited Her In by Adele Park, and let me just tell you, that book was so good. I feel like I want to dedicate its own video to talking about it because, oh my goodness, there is a slap in that book that is sending me. That slap in the book is sticking with me more than most of the things in the book. I'll say it's the second thing that's sticking with me most about that book. Because who are you slapping? No. When I tell y'all about that book, I Invited Her In, then you will understand and be like, oh, I see why Keith felt the way that she did about it, because it was a mess. So anyway, I finished that book. I had put it on pause actually for a little while because with everything that was going on, I really wasn't able to concentrate on physical reading for a few days, so I was just listening to audio, and I got done The Bridesmaid by Tanisha Stewart, and what other one did I finish? I Invited Her In, The Bridesmaid, and there was another one I'm gonna have to talk about in the next video. So I got plenty of reading done. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what else. Couple of books I DNF. The one that I can think of right now is the Zora Neale Hurston book on the life of Herod. Not interested in it. I thought that I was gonna like it. I thought I was gonna want to read it, but it's not. It's not gripping me, and I can't with stuff that's not gripping me, especially right now. What else? So I guess that's it, as far as catching up. But now, on to the books. So I have. Let me see. Six books that we are going to talk about. So, the first is The Student by Tanisha Stewart and Carrie Bledsoe. Carrie Bledsoe is the illustrator. I gave this 5 stars. And the description goes, Nicholas always strived for perfection, but he never could measure up to his mother's unreasonable demands. His hopes of passing the prerequisites for the pre-med program at the prestigious Plankton University are dashed when he fails out. He has almost lost hope, but maybe he can find it in psychology until he encounters Professor Jackson. For an introductory class, her standards are way too high. As time wears on, Nicholas feels like he is in over his head. His mother doesn't know his secret. Professor Jackson won't let up on his grades, and sooner or later, the walls will come crashing down around him. Maybe Nicholas can reason with Professor Jackson. Maybe he can make her see his point of view. Maybe they can come to an agreement about his grades, because the only other alternative is to kill her. Oh! So I gave it 5 stars. I said Nicholas is a bit of an overachieving perfectionist prick. And he's kind of having a hard go at it in Professor Jackson's psychology class. Professor Jackson is a by-the-book professional grader who will deduct points from a final grade if the requirements of the syllabus are not met. And I'm on her side about it. This is detrimental for Nicholas, however, because of the consequences that he faces from his family, particularly his mother, for any failed classes. It was giving Veronica and Jeffrey Harrington from that Tyler Perry show, The Haves and the Have-Nots. That was my show. I loved it. But that mother and son had the worst relationship. And that's kind of how the relationship between the character Nicholas and his mother is. Just the toxic, worst type of situation. She's the worst. So anyway, I said it was this horrific mother-son relationship, and I was here for all of it. I enjoyed the thrill of it. It wasn't too I said it wasn't too overly gory and over the top of that, blood and stuff like that. But it still left me on the edge of my seat and rooting for Professor Jackson. I loved it. 5 stars. Next, I have The Hitchhiker, which is also by Tanisha Stewart and read by Carrie Bledsoe. I gave this one 4 stars. And the description goes, when Vanessa Thompson agrees to fly across the country to meet her online crush, she never imagines she's walking straight into a killer's trap. Kidnapped and tortured by a sadistic predator, Vanessa endures unspeakable horrors as the clock ticks down on her survival. With only 7 days before her captor's deadly countdown ends, every breath could be her last. As investigators search for a woman who seems to have vanished without a trace, Vanessa faces a desperate battle against time itself. Trapped in a nightmare where hope fades with each passing hour, she must find the strength to outsmart a monster or become another missing person who never makes it home. I said, this truly was good and creepy. I think this was my favorite read from this group of books over the past couple weeks. I think the only issue that I had, because it's small, the only issue that I had with it was the title. Because like I said before, I just felt like the title was a bit of a reach. I thought that we were going to go on a good old cross-country girly schmurder spree. But it was nothing like that. And so I feel like Tanisha really should have stretched extra good for the reach of the title of this book. I said, now just hear me out. A hitchhiker is a person who someone who travels long distance or across towns by asking strangers for free rides in cars, trucks, or vans. Vanessa had already traveled the distance via a plane ride and then broke down on the side of the road in a rental car, and then she stupidly gets in the car with a man who conveniently happened to be riding by that she had met just once in the past. He picks her up and takes her somewhere, and I feel like it should have been called The Bridegroom Killer. But it was so good. Tanisha Stewart writes really good character arcs and a person learning their lesson. She also writes a really good kidnapping. But let me tell you how much everything that girl Vanessa did in this book pissed me off. From her not listening to her sister Patrice by going out of town to meet this internet stranger instead of him coming to meet her. First of all of it is weird and shouldn't be done. Internet safety rule number 1 is to never meet anybody that you meet off the internet for any reason. Oh my goodness. So she went to meet him instead of him coming to her. That's my whole thing too. Don't do it. But then if you are going to do it, you don't fly out to him. Oh my goodness. So from that point to her accepting a rental car in his absence instead of his presence when she arrived at the airport. And then, oh, here we go. Hi. He always got to come in and make his announcement. Hi. Say hi, everybody. Say hi, YouTube. So I said, okay, so from her not listening to her sister Patrice by going out of town to meet this internet stranger instead of him coming to her, to her accepting a rental car in his absence instead of his presence when she arrived at the airport, and then not telling her sister that part. So she knew that she was doing something that she didn't have any business doing, because when she got to the airport, instead of him being there to greet her and to take her wherever, he had sent a rental car, had a rental car for her to take, but the rental car was kind of like raggedy. And when her sister called to check on her, make sure she had landed okay and that he was there and this, that, and the other, she didn't tell her sister that he wasn't there. I wonder why. Why you keeping secrets? Because you know it wasn't right. She should have left right then and there. I said because she knew it sounded fishy and her sister would have had something to say, and rightfully so. The only thing that she did in this entire book that I agreed with was listen to the audiobook The Progeny while by Kenya Moss Dime while she was on the fool ass plane ride to meet the creep Adonis. Anyway, that was the only thing that she did that I liked, and she paid severely for it. Her sister, Patrice, was the only one with a lick of sense. I liked how serious she was about finding Vanessa because of their close-knit bond. It was sweet. 4 stars, because I felt like the title was a little misleading. So yeah, that was a good book though. So you know what? The girl in the book, Vanessa, read The Progeny, and right after I did, after I listened to that one, The Hitchhiker, I listened to The Progeny because she mentioned it, and I like it when authors shout out other authors in their book. So, The Progeny by Kenya Moss Dime was excellent. Okay, so right after I had read um, The Hitchhiker, I went ahead on and read um, The Progeny by Kenya Moss Dime. I'm just gonna start it over. Okay, so in the murky depths of familial ties, Craven's world shatters as his parents welcome Leo, an enigmatic 8-year-old wrapped in shadows that whisper of ancient terrors. Leo's unsettling obsession with death and the chilling accidents that shadow his steps plunge Craven into a nightmare of dread, his every instinct screaming of impending doom. As secrets coil like serpents around his family, Craven faces a chill. What? As secrets coil like serpents around his family, Craven faces a chilling. Can humanity withstand the dark legacy that pulses through Leo's very being? Am I reading this wrong, or is there a word missing? Because what in the world is this sentence? As secrets coil like serpents around his family, Craven faces a chilling. Can humanity withstand the dark legacy that pulses through Leo's very being? There's a word missing. Prepare for a bone-chilling descent into the abyss of terror, where every heartbeat echoes with the whispers of malevolence. So I gave it 5 stars. And I said, okay, well, can we first of all just talk about the cover of this book? Mwah, it's absolutely stunning. I had no idea that it was even a mouse until I got to the ending credits of the book. I definitely thought that it was smoke. I had no idea that it was a damn mouse until I got to the end credits of the book and they was talking about the cover. But it's gorgeous though. It's really, really pretty. I said, anyway, poor little Craven. It's so unfortunate when parents make serious life-altering decisions and don't care about how those decisions affect their children, and the poor kid has to suffer for it. Because why wouldn't you listen to your child who is adamant about not wanting certain changes? Or he's having a hard time adjusting to these changes and they're affecting him negatively. A new adopted sibling? A new step parent? A move to a big dumbass new house? I'm not saying that we have to cater to a child's every whim or to only what they want in life, but if you see, especially ahead of time, that this dramatic change is negatively affecting your child's mental health, or they're just telling you, no, 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 I don't want this to happen, why go through with it? Like, why open up a whole can of trauma worms? Like, what the hell? And Craven kept saying that he did not want a new adopted sibling, and nobody listened to this kid. And now he's running for his life from a child demon who carries around a bloody bag of bones. First of all, why would CPS assign this boy a family and he can't emotionally detach from this bag of bones that he carries around like a pet? Why wasn't that invested or cared about before he was handed off to a family with their vulnerable other children? 8-year-old adoptee Leo gives 14-year-old Craven a run for his money, and I was here for all of it. I was a little confused on some of the backstory as to who Leo's birth mother was in relation to Craven's dad, etc. A little bit of the lore was a bit lost for me, but maybe that was just me. I thoroughly enjoyed the book, really had fun with it. 5 stars, Progeny by Kenya Ma Stein. So now that we got the student and the hitchhiker out of the way, we can hit up The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I finally got around to that one. So, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, I gave 5 stars. And it goes, the description: every day, I clean the Winchester's beautiful house top to bottom. I collect their daughter from school, and I cook a delicious meal for the whole family before heading up to eat alone in my tiny room on the top floor. I try to ignore how Nina makes a mess just to watch me clean it up, how she tells strange lies about her own daughter, and how her husband Andrew seems more broken every day. But as I look into Andrew's handsome brown eyes, so full of pain, it's hard not to imagine what it would be like to live Nina's life. The walk-in closet, the fancy car, the perfect husband. I only tried on one of Nina's pristine white dresses once, just to see what it's like. But she soon finds out, and by the time I realize my attic bedroom door only locks from the outside, it's far too late. But I reassure myself, the Winchesters don't know who I really am. They don't know what I'm capable of. I said, okay, I enjoyed this book much better than the last 2 Frida books I've read, The Crash and The Boyfriend. Even though this was an older book of hers, I liked it. It took me so long to finally get around to reading it because I was reading a lot of her other backlogs and I got really wrapped up in that, which was good because it allowed time for the movie to come out. So I was able to buddy read the book with my girlfriend, and now I can watch the movie with her. I haven't gotten around to watching it yet, but I will. Now, was it the best written thriller I've read all year? No. The worst? No. Also no. I said I feel, as with all Frida books, that it's a great way to escape and not have to think too hard about stuff or read too deeply. That's actually what I like most about Frida's books, is that they are great take a load off books to zone out to and just read. I did not feel it was to address the rumors of plagiarism and say how I felt. I said I didn't necessarily feel that it was like direct plagiarism of the last Mrs. Parrish, because that's what they try to say, that like this is a copy of the last Mrs. Parrish, which the Parrish was out before this one, but I don't know. I said I didn't feel that it was a direct plagiarism of the last Mrs. Parrish, but I did feel that it's a bit of a Frankenstein novel, in that it felt composed of a little bit of everybody's everything. What I mean is, I like the themes and the tropes present in The Housemaid. And they're present also in a lot of I'ma take your man thrillers out that's out nowadays. As a matter of fact, it sounds very familiar to the next book that I'm getting ready to talk about by Tanisha Stewart called The Babysitter. I said there are a lot of differences and similarities between the babysitter, and similarities between the last Mrs. Parrish, the housemaid, and even the babysitter. But I don't think that they are all directly plagiarized from each other or anything like that. I said I just think that there are only but so many ways that you can spin a trope, and it can look plagiaristy along the way. I thought plagiarism was like a copying directly, like word for word, almost verbatim of someone else's work, not like a reworking of the same things. I enjoy each book in its own right. 5 stars. So next we have The Babysitter by Tanisha Stewart, illustrated by Carrie Bradshaw. Oh, wait a minute. So it's the illustrator. So is that like the person who made the cover, or is that? I thought that was. I was getting. I was getting illustrator and narrator mixed up. My bad. The narrator is Carrie Bradshaw. I'm thinking that's I mean, the illustrator is Carrie Bradshaw. I'm thinking that that's the person who read it. My bad. 5 stars for The Babysitter by Tanisha Stewart. And the description is: when Soraya Simmons accepts a week-long babysitting position for the affluent Rodwell family, she sees it as the perfect opportunity. But behind the pristine walls of their suburban home, she discovers disturbing signs that something isn't right. Caroline Rodwell, a traveling nurse, keeps everything under strict control. Her husband, Richard, maintains their picture-perfect image, but basements hold secrets, and perfect families often hide the darkest truths. As Soraya digs deeper into the Rodwell's world, she realizes that she's not the only one harboring dangerous secrets. In a high-stakes game of deception where lives hang in the balance, the truth could destroy everything and everyone in its path. Like, yeah, this definitely reminded me of The Housemaid, even The Housemaid's Sister, The Housemaid's Secret that I read a couple days ago. It reminds me of that too. Anyway, I said I read this directly after reading The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. By Frida McFadden. I can't talk today. What is going on? I said they were kind of giving similar but different. I feel like Housemaid, The Last Mrs. Parrish, and The Babysitter were all giving similar nanny slash girl from hell coming to steal your life. But this was in her own lane. This one, The Babysitter, was in her own lane and very much so set apart from the other two. In that the housemaid and Mrs. Parrish, we see these wives are actually like reaching out to bring in a girl into her home to kind of set up this girl for failure. So whereas in this book, this girl has her reasons to come into this home as a live-in nanny for a week. In The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine, we see this girl Amber directly come for Daphne Parrish's way of living, her husband, all of his money, and their rich lifestyle. And Daphne is just kind of handing him over on a silver platter to this little young girl, not having an issue with anything that this girl was doing. And then about halfway through the book, the perspective changes and we come to find out exactly why Daphne is handing over Jackson to Amber. Now, Daphne didn't so much reach out and cause as she allowed Amber to come in and ruin her life. Now, in The Housemaid, we see the wife, Nina, reach out and pull in seemingly innocent Millie into her and her husband's life to hand her husband Andrew over to Nina. Nina kind of hand her husband over to Millie, my bad. And Nina kind of really plays into this being crazy and makes Millie feel justified in her own feelings for Andrew. And again, about halfway through, we find out Nina's reasons for setting up Millie. Both stories are disgusting examples of women throwing other women under the bus, but just I said, I'm cracking myself up. I said both stories are disgusting examples of women throwing other women under the bus. Not just the bus, under the monster truck to save their own necks. But honey, I guess. However, this book was similar, but very different because the reasons that this girl, Soraya, in The Babysitter, has for wanting to be the babysitter of the Rodwells for a week is absolutely dastardly. And it completely twisted my Twizzler. Even Ms. Rodwell was written kind of similarly to Nina because she had like this really bright, perky, perfectly happy way of speaking and going about things, kind of similar to how Nina was in the very beginning of her book, The Housemaid. It's so bright and perky and extra perfect that it's almost creepy, and that's how she is. There are a lot of some of their little personality quirks and stuff were similar to one another. So, like I said, I see how the tropes have been reworked. I don't think necessarily that, you know, The Housemaid was plagiarized or Babysitter or any of these books, like I said, in that genre. I just think that they are a blending and a mixing of different ways to tell the same story. So yay, that was that. And then next, last but not least, I got a Brandon Massey. Love him. Good Intentions. I gave 3 stars. The description is, Nate Noble has it all. Now, I like his last name. I'm just now catching that his name is Noble because he is a noble nuisance. He tries to be noble, I guess, honey. Nate Noble has it all. A thriving business, a loving fiance, and a bright future. But his world takes an unexpected turn when he crosses paths with Marvin Waters, the childhood best friend he hasn't seen in 30 years. Marvin is a man beaten down by life, haunted by a troubled past and barely scraping by. Driven by guilt and a desire to do the right thing, Nate extends a helping hand, offering Marvin a job and a fresh start. But good deeds don't always go unpunished. Marvin hasn't forgotten what happened when they were just boys and the role Nate played in his downfall. Resentment lurks beneath his gratitude, and as he weaves himself into Nate's life, a sinister plan begins to unfold. By the time Nate discovers the truth, it may already be too late. I said, in this story, we see how much Nate wants to help Marvin because Nate feels indebted to Marvin for ruining his life when they were little. Nate wrote an anonymous letter that made CPS, no, it wasn't anonymous. Okay, I said, Nate wrote a letter that made CPS look into how Marvin's stepdad was treating him. And that caused a big fight between Marvin and his stepdad, which turned into a murder that changed the course of Marvin's life. While Nate went on to grow up and have a good life, that changed the course of Marvin's life, while Nate went on to grow up and have a good life. Well, when they run into each other as adults, Marvin is I lost my train of where was I? My bad. Well, when they run into each other as adults, Marvin then devises a scheme to take everything from Nate in his good little life that he feels as though is owed to him due to Nate's snitching when they were little. Well, naive Nate, for whatever reason, also feels guilty, like he owes Marvin for ruining his life. And so, he starts to help him in little ways that he can. Like, he gives him a job at his UPS store. He bails him out of jail for other little sticky situations that he gets himself into, and making Marvin's plan that much more easy for him to do and execute. Child, the road to hell is certainly paved in good intentions, because Nate should have left that damn man alone. I just don't understand why naive Nate felt as though he still knew Marvin 30 years later. Just because y'all were best friends 30 years ago when you were little doesn't mean he wasn't changed by life. Not having contact with someone for 30 plus years makes them a stranger. Even people that we go to school or work with every day, that we call our friends and whatnot, they're not. If you don't even know, especially if you don't even know what the inside of their homes looks like, they are not your friends and you do not know them. You can work with or go to school with a person every day all you want. That doesn't mean that you know them. You can work with them or go to school with a person but that doesn't mean that you know what goes on behind the closed doors of their home. Like, that doesn't matter, and it does matter. This was especially the case with Marvin and Nate, because Marvin's home life was so vastly different from Nate's when they were little. I think Brandon Massey writes a really good, hard-headed knucklehead in the same ways that Tanisha writes really good arcs. He writes really good knucklehead men. If Nate would have just listened to his fiance, none of this would have happened. But then I guess if they all listen to their wives, girlfriends, or fiancés, then how the hell would they ever find themselves wrapped up in the bullets of shit to have to get out of? And then what books would I have to read? I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars, which is still good, because it was a good story. But the twist did not twist my Twizzler at all. And I was a little disappointed, because I just didn't like the twist. I'm not gonna say it didn't make sense. It made sense, but I just didn't like it. It was silly and overdone to me. And the fact that Nate kept thinking that this guy was the same little sweet but, damaged boy from his childhood was just beyond me. I couldn't understand it for nothing. And his fiance kept telling him, can you just focus on us planning our wedding and leave him to his own devices, please? He wouldn't listen. So anyway, honey, I guess this is it. I will be back with an update. Another book that I also finished was Chicken Soup for the Soul, and I'm going to also do for the African American Woman's Soul. I'm going to also dedicate a separate video to that too. So I've got plenty of things coming up. I've just got to make sure that I pace myself, and especially with everything else. That way I am able to get everything out in a timely manner and blase. So yeah, this was fun though. I really wanted to talk about these, get this out of the way. I guess that is it. And I will see you all next.